What is up, guys? Good evening. Welcome back. We got another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show for you tonight. Thursday Night Football, we have the Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. I'm excited about that one. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are back for this one. We did not expect Puka Nacua to play, but they're saying he's going to play. And I think if you have Puka Nacua, I'm going to try and get him in my lineup. So I'm sure we'll get some questions on that. Come on in, settle down for the evening. I'm going to read some of the player practice news from today, and then we'll get any questions you guys have ready in the chat. So TJ Hawkinson tonight, not playing. He's going to make his season debut next week. That is the report. DK Metcalf not practicing for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't expect DK Metcalf to play this weekend, so I'm kind of liking Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith in the Jigba and the questions that I've been getting there. Juwan Jennings also not practicing for the 49ers. We did get Debo and George Kittle limited. So Debo back on track to play, which is nice. But I don't think Juwan Jennings is going to play. This team's on bye next week, so I think they're going to be a little bit extra cautious. I think you're going to want to get Debo, Kittle, and maybe Ricky Pearsall in for the 49ers this weekend. Weird one here, Ladd McConkey with that hip injury. He was kind of limited last week with that hip. He did play and have a decent game, but he didn't practice today, so we'll watch for Ladd McConkey tomorrow. That'll be a big report for Friday. Quentin Johnston also not practicing for the Chargers, so down potentially two receivers here. So Josh Palmer, if you guys need somebody in deeper leagues, I suppose Josh Palmer is not a bad look. Good news for Chris Olave today, practicing in full. Derek Carr not practicing today. Again, we don't expect him. He's not playing this week. We expect him to maybe play week 9. Weird one. Bucky Irving here, not expected to play week 8 with a toe injury. Think he injured it at the end of the game on Monday Night Football here, so he didn't practice yesterday. And I'm kind of like, okay, we'll see about tomorrow. And today he does not practice again. So the report here is he is not expected to play in week 8 here. So if you have Rachaad White, we're probably playing Rachaad White. And Sean Tucker is still reserved for like really, really deep leagues. He can be a running back 2 flex. We have a downgrade here on Jacoby Myers. He did not practice today after practicing yesterday. Again, he's missed the last 2 games, and now he goes limited on Wednesday, doesn't practice on Thursday. I don't think he's on track to play in week number 8. So good news for Brock Bowers. I'm not really messing with the other Raiders receivers. Dallas Goedert doesn't practice again today. I don't think he's playing. Maybe week 9 we see Dallas Goedert back. I do like this report here for the Ravens. Keaton Mitchell, the second-year running back, limited in practice again today. They activated him, his practice window. I don't expect him to play in week 8. I don't expect him to play in week 9. Maybe week 10 we see Keaton Mitchell on the field. He's worth holding on to in IR spots if you have him. We do have to keep an eye on Zay Flowers, though. So we know he hurt his ankle on Monday Night Football. He missed practice yesterday, which we kind of expect that when players play on Monday Night Football, those Wednesday practice reports aren't that important. Today he misses practice. That's back-to-back DNPs. Big practice report day for Zay Flowers tomorrow. They haven't said anything like, oh yeah, like he's probable or expected or anything like that. So we'll find out tomorrow there on Zay Flowers. Calvin Ridley here not practicing. Didn't practice yesterday, didn't practice today. I think he's probably doubtful with that foot injury, which is kind of a bummer because no DeAndre Hopkins there. Ridley probably looking like a better play going forward, even though we still don't really trust it. No Allen Lazard today at practice for the Jets. Tua Tagovailoa fully practicing. I do expect him to play this week and just boost all of our Dolphins finally. So Jaden Daniels didn't practice today, but they're saying he plans to attempt practice tomorrow. So there's a sliver of hope here for Jaden Daniels yet. I think it's probably wise for him to rest up for a week here. You're playing a good Bears defense. I don't really want to mess with it. Jaden Daniels has been playing great so far this year. I don't want to see them break him. For me, in leagues, if I have Jaden Daniels, I'm almost hoping that he gets one more week of rest here before we see him. There's plenty of quarterback options this week for streaming purposes. Jonathan Taylor, finally a full practice. Josh Downs, full practice as well after not practicing yesterday. So it looks like both JT and Josh Downs on track to play. Let me see what else we got here. Jonathan Brooks and Adam Thielen, both limited in back-to-back practices. I don't think we see either of these guys here, but it is good for their week number 9 availability. We are watching the health of Deontay Johnson. We know he was banged up a lot last week. He had like 3 things on the injury report, and he does not practice today after not practicing yesterday. We'll see about that tomorrow. Jameson Williams officially suspended for 2 games. He's not going to appeal it. He knows what he did. Andy Reid saying DeAndre Hopkins could play right now. And it's weird. Like Hopkins just got there today. They had to wait for all the paperwork and all the testing to get through for Hopkins to officially be a Kansas City Chief. And he's on the fence right now. We'll see. I think we'll get a report Saturday or first thing Sunday morning on DeAndre Hopkins. So we'll wait and see there. Otherwise, I feel like that's pretty much most of the stuff that we care about. So I'm going to hop into some of the comments here and see what we got cooking. Good evening to Aiden. Hope you're doing well, man. Same to you, Harris. Are we starting Puka? So my initial thought was like he's going to be on a snap count, and I don't really trust that. But my other thought is, you know, the Rams just last week, like they had Jordan Whittington active. They let him play like 8 snaps, and they didn't let him run a single route. I would like to think that Puka, like he's a different caliber player. If he's active, like they're going to see what he can do. And if that knee is all good and he's out there for, one series at a time and rotating in, and he, comes out fine by halftime, maybe he just plays the whole second half, something like that. So I would lean towards playing Puka. If you are a team that really needs a wide receiver help, I think it's fine. I have Puka in here as my wide receiver 25 in my rankings right now. I have him ahead of guys like Deontay Johnson, Darnell Mooney, Jordan Addison, Chris Olave, Romeo Doubs, Tank Dell, Deebo Samuel, Xavier Worthy. We just have a lot of questions on those guys right now. So I would break favor for Puka if I'm looking at like a questionable wide receiver 3 call. Should I trade Moonman for Chubb? My team's looking like Darnold, Dobbins, White, Amon-Ra, Devontae, Njoku, Flowers, BTJ. And the bench, we got Mooney, Warren, Tracy, Ford, Palmer, half the 40-yard play bonus. Your running backs are pretty good there, Aiden. I like Dobbins and Rachaad White, especially now that the toe injury for Bucky. And you also have Warren, Tracy, and Ford. Like I'm happy with those guys here. I don't know. Like, even if you were to get Dobbins here, I don't think – or to get Chubb, I don't know if he gets into your lineup this week with Dobbins and White there right now. So you don't really have – you got Brian Thomas Jr. there, which I like a lot. But, man. I'm open to it, but in the 40-point yard play bonus, man, like that's kind of Mooney's bread and butter, right? So it's kind of a toss-up. I would lean towards maybe keeping Mooney. Again, I like your running backs. I think Tyrone Tracy's a guy that's going to continue to be a running back 2 flex going forward, and I still like Jaylen Warren to continue to look better as he gets healthier. I'm probably holding here, and I still think, Jerome Ford, when he does get back on the field, and he didn't practice today, by the way, we forgot about that one. When Ford gets back on the field, like I still think he's a third down kind of passing down role, and he will be the second back in that offense. So I would probably hold on to Mooney. At QB, I have Daniels. Do I start Sam Darnold or Bo Nix or Drake May? Good evening, Chico. Thanks for the question. I would lean towards probably Sam Darnold. I like this matchup against the Rams defense. I have Sam Darnold as my QB 6 on the week. So I am pretty comfortable starting Sam Darnold. I wouldn't hold out for Jayden Daniels. I'm going to go Sam Darnold tonight. Just putting my eggs into Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones. I think Sam Darnold will be a good play tonight. Puka or Rico. Okay. So I think in this one, like the name Puka versus Rico, like Puka. What if Puka's healthy tonight and they don't hold him back? Like what's that ceiling look like? 20 plus fantasy points. Even if he catches 3 or 4 balls for 40 yards, that's still if you think Puka's fine and he's going to get his floor of 7 and 10 points, then you play Puka because he's got a way higher ceiling than Rico Dowdle. So in this situation, it depends on your risk level, Harris. If you just want to collect 10 points, you play Rico. If you want to roll the dice and see what you can flip, I would go Puka here. And I do like Rico this week. Look and see where I have him in my ranks. I have Rico just outside my top 25 running back. So he's at 28 right now. I'm going to lean Puka slightly just because I think he's got the higher upside at the ceiling position. And Rico, man, even if he scores a touchdown, Rico's only getting you 15 points, where I think Puka can probably do more damage there. Last week was my first loss. We had Evans, Adams, and Daniels. Yeah, last week was one of So I'm one of the weird ones, and I track my league's scoring every week in a spreadsheet. I have data going back to 2019, and last week was like one of the worst scoring weeks in our league history. And we've been playing since 2010, but our Superflex era started in 2019, and it was one of the lowest weeks we've ever had. So it was just bad. Injuries, the quarterback injury sucked, the receiver injury sucked, and just a lot of disappointment last week. Pretty much every team that I saw last week had some kind of disappointment. So I'm hoping we get things turned around. But honestly, the scoring overall for fantasy football is not great. Last year, and I'm just looking at my Superflex teams from last year. Last year we averaged about 125 points per game. This year it's down to about 122. Years previous, like going back to 2020, it was like 129, 128. So we're down almost like a touchdown per game from the last few years. Yeah, it's the quarterbacks. It's a lot of it is the way the NFL has evolved right now. A lot of running backs are getting points. That's kind of the shift that we didn't expect to see. It's a running man's league now, where teams are kind of sitting back, playing that too high safety, keeping everything in front of them, and not letting defense or not letting quarterbacks kind of pick them up and go over the top here. So it's a weird transition here, and we're seeing running backs and teams want to run the ball and play slow. Puka or Worthy? I'm going to go with Puka Nacua here. I have Puka as my wide receiver 25. I like Worthy this week. I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins is going to play, but I've got Worthy at wide receiver 33. So I'm going to go Puka here. With Worthy, I liked seeing the 8 targets last week, and he was like this close from getting a long 60 or 70 yard touchdown. But we've seen Xavier Worthy's bad games are 5-6 points. And I think, if Puka's out there tonight, I'm going to roll the dice and assume that he's going to be better than 5 or 6 points tonight. Mr. Green, thanks for hanging out, my man. 10-team Superflex. PPR, need a QB1, QB2. Okay, we need a lot of things. Okay. Kyler, Dak, and Bo Nix. Okay, so the Bo Nix thing is tough because he's got a great matchup. He's got a great matchup, but we still have that element of, can we trust him? I don't know that we can. I think I'm going to give Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott the benefit of the doubt. Dak Prescott coming off a bye. Hopefully they can get CeeDee Lamb going again. And Kyler, Kyler has had his ups and downs, but he's running the ball. He's getting touchdowns again. I kind of want to stick with Kyler and Dak. QB1 and 2. Wide receiver 2. So we got DJ Moore, BTJ, Worthy. If I have to choose one of those receivers, I'm going to rank them as I'm going Brian Thomas Jr. I'm starting BTJ over DJ Moore. I like DJ Moore's matchup quite a bit, but it's man, now I'm looking at my rankings. I got DJ Moore at 13. I got BTJ at 14. So I guess I got to stick with my rankings. I'm going to go DJ Moore, Brian Thomas Jr., and Worthy. That's how I would rank those receivers. Honestly, if you want to play BTJ or DJ Moore at wide receiver 2, I'm fine with it. And then tight end, I'm going with Trey McBride because it's a volume number thing, whereas the Packers receivers are all healthy. You never know who's getting the ball. I think Tucker Kraft's a really good tight end, but I'm going to choose McBride, who's continuing to get high targets, whereas Kraft's probably in like the 4 to 5 target range. We see we see Trey McBride get easily like 7, 8, 9, 10 targets in some games. So tight end is easy. I'm going with McBride, and then at flex, I think you got to go Devon Achane. Tua's back. So the tough question is basically you're sitting Nix and then one of BTJ or DJ Moore. I will say I like the opportunity for Brian Thomas Jr. this weekend because the Packers, we expect their offense to succeed against the Jags. Maybe that leads to more passing for Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. And just the game environment for Washington, Chicago, we don't know what that's going to look like with Marcus Mariota. So you could convince me to play BTJ over DJ Moore. So I think that answered all your questions there, Mr. Green. Worthy or Warren? I'm going to go with Jaylen Warren here. He's a guy that you guys know my show. I've been very, very high on Jaylen Warren for the past few seasons. He's one of my most drafted players coming into the year. Got hurt, missed a few games, And now he's back into the offense, and he has Russell Wilson, which I think helps boost his floor. He's had, just last week, 12 carries for 44 yards, 2 for 15 as a receiver. That was his biggest workload of the season. And they're playing the New York Giants this weekend in Pittsburgh. I do like the Steelers' ability to control that game and potentially get Warren, some more touches and probably play better on those touches as well. So here's the thing. If you want 8 to 12 points, I think you go with Warren. Now, Worthy, again, we kind of just talked about him. If you want, a chance at a touchdown and try to get that 20 points, Worthy's your guy. Otherwise, we've seen his bad games, and again, those are 5 to 6 points. So it's a risk-reward thing. If you're willing to gamble and hit the 20, you go with Worthy. If you want to play it safe and get the 8 to 12 points, you go with Jaylen Warren. I still like Tutu Atwell, but I'm concerned, with Puka and Kupp back now. That takes a little bit of the steam off Tutu Atwell. He has been playing well, but if you play Tutu Atwell, you're banking on him making a catch for 40 yards, maybe a deep touchdown, something like that. And the Vikings defense is good, so I think I'm probably. And I don't remember, Harris. You had a question, I think it was last night, with all those guys, and I couldn't really remember who's all in it. But I think just with Puka being active, that turns me off from the Rams wide receiver 3, whether it's Robinson, Tutu, or Tyler Johnson. So I would probably not play Tutu Atwell tonight, even though I do think the Rams will have to throw. It's just a matter of, do you think Tutu can come down with that big play for you? So Atwell or McLeod. Now, McLeod, I believe he had a good game against Tampa Bay a few weeks back, if I recall. He's the clear number 3 receiver. He's seen 4 targets in each of the last 2 games. He had games of 9 and 7 targets back in week 4 and 5. I would probably go Tutu Atwell over Ray McLeod. McLeod's kind of a dink and dunker, whereas Tutu he can go 2 for 60 and a touchdown. I don't really see that for Ray McLeod. I think Atwell's got the higher ceiling. And the floor is pretty bad on Ray McLeod. So, they both have the same floor. I'd rather take a shot, and who knows, maybe the attention of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua in the lineup, maybe that frees up Tutu Atwell for a big play or two. So I will lean Mr. Atwell there. I'm going to hit refresh on my feeds and see if I can find any more news for you guys. So it's Thursday evening. I think we're trying to get a live video. I'm going to be posting a player prop video on Saturday. And then I will be going live Sunday morning this weekend. So we'll get you guys all set up at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. So if you want to hang out and get some questions in before the game starts Sunday morning, we will be there for you. Interesting. Moss or Singletary rest of season. I'm gonna go Zach Moss, because he's attached to the Bengals. Both guys are very similar, honestly. They're losing work to the younger, more explosive back right now. And they're both kind of one injury away from regaining their starting role. I think Moss, though, is more trusted in pass pro, and he's got a nice floor every week with some catches and some runs. And if anything happens to Chase Brown, we're starting Zach Moss again. And as much as I like Devin Singletary, I like Tyrone Tracy a lot more. I still like Chase Brown a lot more too, but I think I'm going to choose the Bengals. It comes down to the Bengals for me over Devin Singletary. And last week we did see Tyrone Tracy lead the team in snaps, touches, routes, everything from the running back position. So I think both guys are kind of handcuffs right now. I will choose the Bengals handcuff. I do have a note. I was reading this here. The Tampa Bay Times, Rick Stroud is told Bucky Irving's toe is trending well. Interesting. I did see a note that we're not expecting Bucky Irving here, so we'll have to watch for those reports tomorrow and see what's going on with Bucky. We'll go ahead and hit refresh here. I'm not sure how I feel about tonight's game. I'm excited. I think the Rams will be feisty. You got to see Kieran Williams get his touches. We do have a report from Ian Rappaport saying Puka Nacua won't see full complement of snaps on Thursday. So again, we have a little bit of risk here, but he's kind of in my rankings. He's ahead of guys that have question marks that we don't really trust anyway. So I don't trust Puka Nacua to play the full game, but they're telling us that. So If you want to get Puka in, I could see 3, 4, 5 catches tonight, and hopefully he comes out unscathed and is ready to rock and roll for week number 9. But get your questions in here finally, guys. I will answer a few more, but if there's none left, I'm going to get out of here for the Thursday night. We have a fun matchup. Vikings coming off a loss. The Rams coming off a win. Matthew Stafford's probably pretty happy to have his guys back. They still have a lot of work to do, though. They have to dig out of this little hole that they built themselves this season. But if I got no more questions, I'm going to get out of here for tonight, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Friday, I think I'm going to probably upload a practice report video tomorrow, so check back tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening early. I will get you guys a practice report, and enjoy the game tonight. If you guys have questions, comment on the YouTube video, hit me up on X, whatever you need. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Got me feeling icy.